The 1930s. The stock market has crashed. Every sim must lose their job. Since they were pretty well off, I took away 40% of their funds. Hold on, Evelyn's literally dying again. It's the Great Depression, Evelyn, you can't be that happy. Let's see if Roselle has Sigrid's magic touch. This is the last time, Evelyn. If you die from laughter again, you die. Can't keep doing this. At this point, I think she's using it as a party trick. Go calm down, please. Anyway, Sims cannot have a job again for at least a full sim week. I'm going to add some extra lot challenges to make it harder. Back to simple living, and we'll throw in the cursed lot trait. It's neighborhood brawl, so Evelyn decided to fight Ruth. She really went all out for this holiday. Evelyn won. I bet that felt good. The only way to make money will be foraging and selling things they find. Reese was stressed about losing his job. And he now had random voodoo doll pain from the lot challenges. Evelyn loved to cook, but wasn't a gardener like Sigrid. And the lot challenges had her starting fires. Oh no, Roselle is insecure. Annie came by for breakfast. Ruth and her husband came by while Evelyn was talking to Alexandria. Ruth told Evelyn that the bank's closing really messed up their money and they desperately needed help. She said she felt like Sigrid would have left her an inheritance. Evelyn told her she wasn't sure and she thought John was loaded. But Ellie got sad and told her John was doing everything he could and to please help. Reese told Evelyn it was fine, they would figure it out. He did ask Ruth if she and Ellie were okay, and Ruth said yes, they just needed money. But he also pulled Ellie aside and asked her. She also said everything was fine. Roselle wasn't buying it and confronted Ruth. Ruth told her John was amazing and that she would be rich again as soon as this whole depression thing was over. Roselle tried to let it go. She really did. But it felt off. She invited her to BFFs from school over to help her investigate. They figured they'd pop by unexpectedly to Ruth's. But when they got there, the house was empty. Roselle came home and told Evelyn and Reese that Ruth, John, and Ellie were gone. They told Roselle to stay with Betty, and they'd go find out what's going on. They hid up a cafe next door to where Ruth was living. They asked the patrons if they knew where the people who lived there went. They said they didn't own that house. John just knew someone who let him stay there temporarily. The guy at the bar said John was apparently trying to be a bootlegger and made a little money until Prohibition ended. He said they left, and went to the big city after that. Evelyn didn't know what to do. She felt so scared and heartbroken. Roselle said she wanted to go to the big city and find Ellie and bring her home. Evelyn told her that was too dangerous and she wanted to contact the police. She told the police the whole story and begged for help. But they said a mother moving with her child was not a police matter. Roselle apparently could tell how sad Evelyn was. Evelyn asked Sigrid's ghost what she should do and she told her to go get Ellie or she'll possess her and do it herself. Reese told Evelyn he'd be the one to go. They couldn't afford a rental in the city. He hit up every bar and asked about John. He asked strangers on the street. He did get to try pufferfish niggery, but also had to sleep on benches. After a couple of days, he finally met a lady who said she knew John and where he lived. So he went to the worst part of town and found their apartment. Reese came in hot. He was relieved Ellie was okay, and the apartment was livable, but he went in on Ruth, asking her how she could do this. Then he noticed she was drunk. He grabbed Ellie and told her it was time to go home, but she refused. She said her mother needed her. Reese tried different tactics with John. Reese asked John why he wanted Ellie in the first place, and John said to get more money from the family. He knew they wouldn't let Ellie go without, and it kept Ruth compliant. Reese finally relented and told him the money was running out with the depression, and said he would give him another chunk of it if he gave Ellie back. He and Ruth both agreed to it. He told Ruth and John they were to never ever contact Ellie again, and if they came to the house again, he'd kill them himself. He told Ruth she was vile, but he got to leave with Ellie, and that was all he wanted. Ellie was upset and said she was fine where she was. Evelyn told her one day she would understand. Evelyn was so thankful to Reese. It took a large amount of their money, though. Roselle, you better calm down. Even though she said she wanted to stay with Ruth, Ellie did miss the calm and loving home she grew up in. Roselle was happy to have her sister back, but was very sick. She had to stay in the guest bedroom and rest alone until she was no longer contagious. Reese was trying his best to make money and find food by foraging and digging. Ellie and Evelyn were trying to bond again. And fires would not stop starting when Evelyn tried to cook. Roselle was sad and lonely in her sick room. But her friends Tom and Han would bring her schoolwork home for her even if they couldn't see her. Ellie was constantly mourning Sigrid's grave. She told Evelyn she really liked living out of the house because she wasn't missing Sigrid as much. And Ruth apparently didn't make her go to school. More fires, this is ridiculous. You're really joking at a time like this. But Evelyn and Ellie finally got close again. Ellie was just hungry and stressed because every meal was being destroyed by fires. They decided to spend the extra money and buy a better stove. Roselle was getting better slowly. Anyway. Roselle was finally better. She and her friends got to go foraging together. But she was kinda hoping Tom and her could be more than friends. Han told her she thought Tom liked her too. She found some new plants to bring to Evelyn. And she and her friends got to spend some time in the park. Roselle planted some of the mysterious mushrooms she found at home. Rose check. Ellie was feeling tense at home still, and started acting out towards Reese. Reese was normally the calm one, but with money stress, was not handling it well. Evelyn tried talking to her. But it was Betty's birthday, and they needed to start the party. Tom caught himself on fire as soon as he got there. Happy birthday, Betty! So many people showed up at your party. Another lactose-intolerant child. She still looks like Reese. Roselle made her cold weather fit. Roselle and Tom had a great time at the party. Except for everyone catching on fire the entire time. It was a mess. So Roselle and Tom escaped the smell of burning flesh by cuddling outside. Lauren saw them and was not happy. He began yelling at Tom and embarrassing Roselle. They tried to explain that they weren't doing anything, but Lauren was not listening to either of them. Evelyn heard the commotion and Lauren told her Roselle was going to end up like Ruth. He demanded she and Tom not be allowed to hang out unsupervised. Roselle was very upset. The fires won't stop, so they are losing their fireplaces until further notice. Evelyn told Reese what happened and said she didn't think it was fair what Lauren wanted. Reese said maybe it was a good idea. He certainly couldn't handle another baby in the house he didn't create. Evelyn was torn. Evelyn told Roselle she trusted her and thought Lauren and Reese just needed to get to know Tom. In the meantime, she started hanging out with Han more. Han said she liked this better. Evelyn talked to Reese and reminded him she was a teen who hung out with others unsupervised, and she waited until marriage. Ellie was still struggling being back in the house. And Reese was frustrated with winter and not being able to forage or fish. But Roselle and Han were getting closer. even if Tom was always trying to get her to leave for dates. She'd just invite him to dinner so Reese could get to know him. Evelyn had some mac and cheese even though she's lactose intolerant. The ensuing embarrassment after an accident was too much. Night on the town was awful, you're right, Reese. Ugh, I really didn't want Evelyn to die. Reese was heartbroken. The kids were too. Reese also worried he wouldn't be able to pay for the property anymore, and they'd have to move. Roselle and Reese had to make some tough decisions after Evelyn's death. They were running out of money, and the Great Depression wasn't over. They decided to sell the farm and promised to return to Hanford on Beckley one day. They decided to migrate to a more desert area in hopes of finding less snow and more opportunities. It cost way less to live in this area, and Reese found a cheap and unique home. It wasn't as nice as their last home, but it had character and hopefully would allow them to survive the Depression. They carried over their lot challenges for this decade, though. Ellie and Betty leaned on one another for support. Roselle and Reese were thankful they could fish again. Evelyn was buried in the new backyard and her grave was full of kitchen items. Roselle was quite lonely, so Reese decided Hand could come stay with them to also make money to send home to her parents. Hand was very happy. Now that Sharon doesn't have a fence around her coop, she just comes inside. Hand was quite helpful while everyone mourned and adjusted. There were now 4 girls sharing one room, but bunk beds helped. Hand called top. Roselle got bottom. Roselle loved having Hand at their new house. She started teaching her to knit. Reese and Ellie stopped bickering. And Hand started realizing her full feelings for Roselle. She was pretty unhappy when Tom came to town to visit. But she tried to play it cool. She prepared a big dinner for the family that evening. Where Reese and Tom discussed the possibility of Tom coming to stay to make money as well. Hand tried her best to discourage Reese from that. So Shannon the hen and Leo the pup have beef. Han decided to push her fear aside and kissed Roselle while they were fishing. Roselle was overwhelmed by it all and said she needed to go check on the garden. Roselle just kept thinking Reese could not find out. Unfortunately, we do need to spin the wheel this winter. Fatal illnesses were common, especially given the economic state. Well, that's just sad. Reese did send her to have surgery though. Oh well, she actually made it. It's a decades challenge first. Good for you, Ellie. Reese was happy Ellie was okay, but he was still very depressed. Roselle kept thinking about her and Handy's kiss, and knew they needed to talk. But first, it's Ellie's birthday. Creative and evil, much like a certain German leader taking power. But she's much prettier, giving Major K and Elizabeth vibes. Roselle and Hand wandered off to talk. They discussed how they both enjoyed the kiss and liked each other, and how Reese couldn't find out. And that's when they began stealing moments. More teenagers meant more people to help with fishing. Reese wanted to focus on the kids, but they begged him to go on a blind date. He reluctantly agreed. But once he met the woman, he realized she was related to Rodrigo and politely ended the date. Roselle and Han made sure the girls were in bed and enjoyed being able to be alone in the house. They did not know Reese had canceled his date and was coming home early. He sat them both down and told them how dangerous what they were doing was. He said he loved them both and wasn't mad at them, just scared for them. They couldn't let anyone know. Not even her sisters. Sharon versus Elder Leo. Roselle told Han after Reese found out she wasn't as scared as before and asked her to be her GF. But that they had to be serious about hiding it and couldn't make any more mistakes. Evelyn came to haunt Hey Princess. Ellie and Roselle were doing great. But poor Betty was almost as sad as Reese. Reese got to chat with Ghost Wife though. One day while the girls were in school, a stranger was waiting on Reese. He greeted her and asked what she needed. But then he realized it wasn't a stranger. It was Ruth. A very skinny Ruth. She said the depression has been rough on her. She left her husband. When she heard of Evelyn's death, she hoped maybe Reese could forget the past and let her stay. She said she could take over as woman of the house, which repulsed him. He remembered what he told her in the big city. He knew she would never stop. He faked kindness and told her they should talk out back and he'd give her some food from the garden. But of course it wasn't a regular apple. It was a Sigrid special. While the stuff worked through her system and she got sicker, he spent her last moments reminding her of how awful she was. He said both of his daughters grew into lovely young women and she would never know. Han came home from school early and saw the aftermath. She told Reese they should ensure she couldn't come back in any form, and comforted him as they finally ended Ruth's story. It's Roselle's birthday. They invited some folks over for a party. A goofball like Reese, I love that. Laurent and her got to see each other again. Betty being lactose intolerant and eating dairy is what got your mom. Tom made it as well, and he and Lauren had a laugh over their last encounter. He pulled Reese aside and asked him if he could propose to Roselle soon. Reese said yes, but said to not do it at the party. Roselle had a great time, but felt more anxious about being found out. Reese pulled her and Han aside after the party and told them Tom was going to propose. He also said he knows Roselle still has feelings for him and she needs to accept his proposal. He said Han and her could always love each other in secret, but this is what needed to happen. They agreed, and Han promised to tolerate the inevitable. But later that night they decided to seal the deal. The next evening Tom asked Roselle on a date. She loved Han, but she definitely had feelings for Tom too. After they finished walking through the museum, he popped the question. She said yes. It's Tom and Roselle's wedding day. They managed to afford a small wedding. Tom said he started saving up the moment he met Roselle. They had a lovely ceremony. Reese was happy for them, but his depression was still looming. He and Han talked most of the night, and he asked if she would be finding someone to marry as well. She explained that she wouldn't be able to fake affection for a man. She congratulated Roselle and told her she loved her. Roselle, Tom, and Leo had to move out into their own home. They found a small but affordable place that luckily was right next door to Reese. It wasn't their dream home, but Tom did what he could to make it feel comfortable. Roselle was happy even with her internal conflict. They finally got to woohoo those see Laurent they waited. The sim week of no work is over. Tom was excited to get to work. Roselle even started working as a nanny part-time, which was good cause they needed money and she could see different places. And she enjoyed the idea of motherhood. Meanwhile, Reese came to hand with a crazy idea. He said they could marry and that way she would be protected, but he wouldn't ever try anything funny. He said he would only ever love Evelyn. Han agreed and was so thankful. They told the kids they were in love. He told Han to go buy herself whatever clothes or anything she wanted, but she needed to look the part. They called Roselle over to tell her their plan. She thought it was weird but the perfect solution. They said they would elope. Tom joined them for dinner, and they announced the engagement. Reese and Han eloped soon after, but their romance bar was empty. Roselle went home feeling strange yet comforted, and then very excited for her pregnancy. Roselle told Tom she was pregnant. He was very happy. She called Han over and told her. And while Tom was off fishing, she couldn't help but flirt with Han. However, Han told her she would not be okay with anything else behind Tom's back. She loved Roselle, but Tom was her friend. Tom would fish on days he didn't work so Roselle wouldn't have to work while pregnant. She got to knitting baby clothes. And while they couldn't afford much, they bought stuff for the nursery. Oh no, Leo's got hot feet. They headed to the vet. In the waiting room, Tom told Roselle he really liked Brindleton Bay. Poor Leo had to get the cheapest treatment, 'cause they're broke. When they got home, Roselle went into labor. A boy. I struggled coming up with a name but landed on Isia. Twins are back, but I need another name. Dennis will work. They were ecstatic. Roselle's life was kind of crazy. It's 1930-something. She's married to her high school sweetheart and just had twins. But she was also deeply in love with her and her husband's lady BFF. Who's also in a lavender marriage with Roselle's father. And even though Han told her they can't be sneaking around, it was Love Day, so she gave her a gift, which upset Han. Tom took Roselle out for Love Day to the museum in Brindleton Bay and told her he'd like to move the family there one day. Then he gave her a Love Day gift. But she wasn't in the best mood after Handy's rejection. They took a stroll where Roselle said she wanted to talk to him. She confessed everything to him. She told him she loved him but also loved Han. He was very upset. He was lied to by his wife and BFF, but he chose to not leave. He celebrated her telling him her truth, which was hard. And she tried to reassure him that she hadn't done anything but flirt since they married. But he now resented Han. Roselle was so relieved to be out to her husband, and very relieved he still wanted to be with her after admitting her feelings for Han. The twins are toddlers, R.I.P. me. I think they're our first identical twins. Before I gave them different hair, I couldn't find any differences. Isia was first, this one's Dennis. Tom called Reese over and told him he knew everything and wanted advice. He explained he was very hurt. He was lied to by the two women he trusted most. Reese explained that they were scared. There was a bohemian city where their love was more normalized, but it wasn't where they were. But he assured Tom that Roselle truly loved him. So Tom sucked it up and invited Hand over to talk. He explained he couldn't help but be mad right now, but did hope they could fix their friendship. Hand told them she actually had begun seeing another woman. She told Roselle she thought it was best for now for her to explore other relationships, and Roselle and Tom repair their marriage. Roselle understood, but couldn't help but be sad. Betty aged up and is giving Kendall Jenner vibes. The household funds did not match Tom's dreams. So Roselle decided to sell some furniture and buy a sales table. Evelyn taught her well. Betty would babysit while Roselle scavenged. Tom was so proud of her. Their relationship was really getting stronger. Oh no, not Leo. Dennis and him just became friends grim. You were a good pup. Alexandria's husband was at the yard sale and he's inside crying now. Roselle knitting, please. That evening they invited over the entire family. Tom got to talk to Teddy about moving to Brindleton Bay, and he tried to convince Reese and the family that they should go to. It was looking like they'd finally get to move soon. Roselle was hoping it'd be good for them. But she was pregnant again and hoped Tom wouldn't be upset. He was over the moon. Tom felt like everything he wanted was really happening. The family was moving into their forever air home. Brindleton Bay ain't ready. Tom found them a wonderful house that was made by one of the best home builders ever. JK, but I like it. Roselle was floored by her new knitting room. Tom made sure the land had room for the weird family cemetery. And Shannon the hen. The whole gang's here. Leo was buried with Evelyn. And the farm animals from the past got their memorial back. They had everyone over for lunch. Tom got a profitable hobby. Roselle continued knitting for the kids and to sell. The twins loved their new rooms. Tom heard a woohoo story so spicy it left him dazed. Hand even came to see them and congratulate them. Her and Tom's relationship was improving. Yay, the spooky family is back. Tom's sentiments about Hand are noteworthy. Roselle continued selling things through her pregnancy. Nina's ghost is always mad when I see her, but hey. OMG, is Evelyn sad that she doesn't haunt Reese anymore? Baby number 3. a girl. Eve after Evelyn. The twins were actually excited about the new sibling. Dennis, the cemetery is not a playground. I don't know how, but Shannon is only a young adult. The twins aged up. Isia. Dennis. The kids made a club as is tradition. Toddler Eve coming at you. Very cute. She met Sigrid. Roselle was having some health issues. She was scared to know what was causing down their problems. But she tried to put it out of her head until she could go to the doctor. Ghost pup. Tom went to the doctor and they got their answer. He knew he had to confess to cheating on Roselle. He explained it was a one-time thing. He felt resentful he waited for marriage and she didn't. And that she lied to him after marriage. She was heartbroken. But she knew she didn't want to break up their family. She put on a strong front so the kids wouldn't know. Roselle tried focusing on making money, but found herself looking at her customers and wondering if they were the other woman. She knew she needed to ask Tom, couldn't stomach the details right now. Tom was trying to give her space. And his treatment for his D was making him sick, so he spent a lot of time in bed. Roselle confided in Reese and Hand. They said they supported whatever she wanted to do. The suspicion finally felt like clarity when a pregnant customer she was talking to asked about Tom. She feigned ignorance and asked the lady how she knew Tom. She said he was a very good friend. Her vague and callous response set her off. She yelled for Tom to come downstairs and confronted the woman with what she knew. Tom was mortified. He never expected to see this woman again. Roselle asked if the baby was his. She said yes. Roselle and Tom told her to leave so they could talk. Tom said he knew it was dumb, he didn't mean for this to happen. Tom regretted everything. He just wanted his family. Roselle asked him to sleep downstairs. Tom asked the family over for advice. He told them he didn't know what to do. He was resentful and petty and should have never cheated. Reese told him he screwed up and all he could do now was apologize and hope the marriage can be saved. Roselle didn't feel much better when she woke up, especially with everyone there. Tom made sure to ask Han if she was planning on swooping in. Han said not to worry, she was happy with her new GF. Thankfully, the kids had been kept out of this and were unscathed so far. Roselle decided to spend some time at the nail salon to calm down. She invited the mistress to join, whose name is long so I'll call her A. They talked and Roselle was informed A and Tom met when he did work at her house, and it was only one time. Roselle told her she wanted to do the right thing, so whatever A needed or wanted to do with them was her choice. And she kept her composure, but the wound was still raw. Roselle told her to be respectful of her marriage, and she'd be respectful back. I was thankful for Roselle and apologized for everything. Roselle went home to Tom and told him she was ready to talk about it. The rocking chair with kids and toddlers is just so cute. Roselle sat Tom down and told him she met up with A. She said she still loved him, but most importantly she wanted to try for the kids, and then promptly reminded him of her family's history with men who treat women badly, just as an FYI. He said that wasn't necessary, he learned his lesson and loved her. She was still trying to control her emotions internally, but outside wanted to only show the positive. They decided to spend more time as a family bonding. Even if it was still gnawing away at her. And he was still pretty stressed about it all. The family came over so Ellie could announce her engagement. Betty tried to comfort Roselle by telling her she was cheated on by her BF James that summer. She moved homerooms to avoid him and everything, but that they were back together and happy. Roselle wasn't feeling better, so she wouldn't die from being enraged. She decided to pick up a new hobby to let off steam. Ellie is getting married to a very handsome man named Kazuki. Roselle and Tom went, but Roselle noticed a face she wasn't familiar with talking to Han. She tried to stay focused on the ceremony. Congrats, Ellie. She went over and introduced herself to whom she suspected was Handy's GF, but quickly felt like a third wheel. She went to the reception and decided to focus on Tom. Ellie made sure to thank Reese for everything and taking her away from Ruth when he did. Ellie and Kazuki moved to Brindleton Bay as well and wasted no time. Roselle got a call from A as soon as she got home. The baby was born and she would let them know when she was ready for guests. That evening, Tom decided to surprise them with the one gift every woman has loved in this family: a kitten. Comment name suggestions for the black female kitten. You can comment low-key if you like her default name. We will spin the wheel. Kitty name time. Salem, very cute. Here's Salem's traits. Wild kitty. Izia has had a bad sentiment and I couldn't figure out for who. Wow. Roselle was anxious about meeting her husband's baby with another woman, but tried to stay calm. They went to ease after the kids were off to school. Roselle felt very weird being in the house the affair was in. But it was time Tom first. Roselle went next, and they told her it was a boy. Roselle asked his name and her stomach dropped when she replied Lauren. Obviously, I wasn't aware that was Roselle's bio dad's name, but awkward for everyone. Tom and Roselle went to eat lunch after meeting the baby, and she tried to hide her inner resentment. While on the boardwalk, they ran into Lauren, her dad, not the baby. He asked what they were doing in this part of town. They tried to explain the situation with grace. But Lauren was angry when they got to the whole baby with another woman part. Tom tried to explain that she did wrong too, but Lauren said he knew for a fact she dated no other boys but him. Roselle was scared she was going to be outed and left, but Tom told Lauren he wasn't a teen he could intimidate anymore and didn't out her. But he did come home mad. Bruh? Roselle gave him a pep talk and told him to get it together. So he tried to let it go. It's Eve's birthday. Old man Reese. Still sad. Still looking at art. Ellie's baby bump though. She's the scrappy little sister. She apologized to Izia for whatever crime she committed as a toddler. Tom was being very wishy-washy lately. Roselle and him would be flirting and he'd randomly be rude. But their woohoo life was doing well at least. Roselle began not being able to sleep at night though. So she'd spend her evenings with Salem and listen to the news of the war.